"24 days into the month of September 2020, a lovely evening, and I hope you've had a great day. Welcome to your favorite news show. This is News Report, and my name is Salifyanji Bweupe, and of course I'm not alone. I'm joined by my colleague Chimwanga, Kalala. Chimwanga, welcome to News Report.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so before we go into the details of today's stories, and that is the headlines, thank you so much for watching us. You're catching us right now on our Facebook page, that is Live TV, as well as our YouTube channel, which is Live TV channel. And of course, if you have any comments or contributions towards the show, please be sure to send them to the number on the screen, which is 0976 599 547. So before we get to the details of the story, we'll go through the stories that are making headlines. Zambia sorry about that. So police deny idle watching of PF cadres vandalizing a UPND vehicle.
And Sinkamba challenges ECZ on new voter register.
Okay, so those are the headlines for today's episode of the News Report. If you have any comments, please be sure to send them to us via our Facebook channel or Facebook page, or rather, and also our message line as well. So the number is scrolling on the bottom of your screen. And so in this particular case, some time back, or is it a week ago, where we saw via social media where some PF cadres were vandalizing a UPND vehicle, and of course we're saying that they're PF cadres because they're obviously putting on the PF regalia, which automatically obviously should deem them as obviously being for the PF, so being PF cadres or PF supporters as well. And so obviously the argument now in this particular case is to do with how there was a police officer, during the whole the time when this commotion was taking place, and of course he did not really do anything about the situation as well. And so today, on this particular story, the Zambia police spokesperson, rather, Esther Katongo, has denied claims that police officers were present when the PF cadres were damaging the UPND vehicle. So obviously, the police spokesperson is defending the police and saying this is not what actually happened. And so in according to the video, she says yes, there was a police officer guarding the premises, but he could not go anywhere because he had some work to do. But he alerted the rest of the police force to say this is what's happening here. And of course, just in the details of the story as well, the MMD president, obviously, Dr. Nevas Mumba, had something to say towards what happened as well. Now, before we get to what Dr. Nevas Amumba said, or we get to break down this particular story, probably the viewers need to be reminded of what had actually happened. Then we'll come back to just talk more about the story.
This is not right. This is not right.
But it's not fair.
So I guess from what the viewers, can see from that particular video, some vandalism is currently, taking place at that point, and there's a vehicle which has been painted, with the UPND colors as well. So meaning it's obviously of a UPND supporter as well, and then you can see certain people, a number of people just on the spot as well, trying to destroy the vehicle as well. So now on the issues of vandalism as well, regardless of, before we get to who the car belonged to, I think in the first place that was a wrong move, because someone has invested their money to buy or purchase that particular vehicle, and obviously you just go into a bank and you come back and you find that your vehicle has been destroyed, and probably maybe even if it's like on comprehensive insurance, will the insurance company be able to cover that particular damage that has been done as well? I don't know, what are your thoughts on this story?
I believe there are no justifications for such actions like that.
Right.
It's wrong in every way you choose to look at it, and I believe that was very uncivil from the cadres. But then as time goes by, we are learning that this is a way of doing things, and I think to some point, to some extent, it's been enabled by those who are supposed to be law enforcement.
Right.
I think the inaction by the police speaks volume.
But what could he have done? The police officer that was present at that time, what could he have done in his capacity?
So I've actually had the opportunity to see the full video.
Right.
So there was one police officer just at the beginning of the video.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so he's standing there with a gun, and then from the people who are narrating in the video, so they're saying there's a police officer, he's just standing there with a gun, and obviously we know he's not going to do something. And that just shows that the public has lost trust and just confidence in the police service in general.
Do you think also maybe the behavior of Vicardas also has incited a certain type of fear in the police service as well? Like, he was alone at that point. Even if he wanted to do something about it, was he going to manage to actually stop those people from doing what they were doing?
All right, so just on that, a little later in the video, another police officer walks by to the same incident, the same area of the incident.
Right.
He stays there for about 10 seconds, goes back to the vehicle, and later on there's another van now of police in a van in riot gear, also bypassing the scene of the incident. So in a statement, the police public relations officer, Esther Katongo, has said there was only one officer at the scene of the crime, but then that officer was occupied because he's a guard at the bank, so he couldn't leave his post there at the bank, because that's an institution that is kind of sensitive. You can't just leave a bank,
right,
because a lot might happen there.
Yeah.
So
Now, when she says that he could not leave his spot because he was, guarding the bank at that particular time, so someone could be getting killed and he would just be standing right at the bank because, he's doing his work as well. it rather contradicts, I think, the role of the police, because the police now is a service. It's no longer termed as, the police force as well. Even if he had to make a few calls, maybe if he had some rubber bullets, or if he needed some rubber bullets to actually fire some warning shots to disperse those people, I think that should have been done as well. And now that we're so much relying on social media now when it comes to news and what's happening around. Some of it is genuine, some of it is not genuine. But looking at the length of the video and looking at other police officers also being present at the scene and still not doing anything at all, I think really is just makes the police service look bad in this case. And maybe to have to release this particular statement, as the police spokesperson or the police themselves, I don't think really this one is carrying a lot of weight, especially when people can see with their two eyes, and we cannot even say it's a Photoshop because it's a video. So I don't feel anything was added to that.
All right, so I think I just want to bring you back to the comparison where you made if a person is being attacked and is an imminent threat.
Right.
Like, will the police officer just stand there and guard the bank and watch a crime happen? I believe in this situation, I can kind of understand where she's coming from. When you look at the two and you just compare their values, obviously the bank has a lot of money in there compared to the vehicle that was being damaged. Quite all right. I think a way you could rationalize this is that the law will eventually catch up with these people who are doing these acts, but you don't want to.
But by instinct as well, Chimwanga. Yeah. Yes, fine. There was money that needed to be protected as well. What needed to be done is that maybe in this case, the police officer could have gone in the bank, spoken to the manager, and say, "Is there something that's happening outside? Could you just lock up for a few minutes?" I believe
we have our contractual obligations in as much as you might.
Yes, we do. But obviously, so what? Well, the police officer obviously will not be interviewed or questioned as into what was happening in his mind at that particular time, or what he did, during that time as well, because no one has gotten, anything from that side of things. So what we are saying is just based on what people actually saw, and not what the police officer was thinking or what he was doing at that particular time. So I'm sure now the police spokesperson is speaking on behalf of the whole service and him inclusive, but we do not know what was actually going through his mind at that particular time. Maybe apart from having the bank lock up and making a phone call and finding out there's this going on here, can we get some help here? A car is being destroyed. I think that is one thing that could have helped the situation. But where someone else comes in, a police officer walks in, and another one, drives by, and they still do not do anything. It just shows that the police service in this case looks as if it's become too reluctant, and it's not carrying out its role as it should, to serve and protect. I think that's the first thing.
I think I agree with you on that. If I might quote something from a statement, quote unquote, the officer the women were referring to in the video was the one who was guarding the bank, and another vehicle which was passing by with only one officer who did not know what was happening at ShopRite. I believe if you're a police officer and you see a scenario like that, I think you should
by
be interested.
Instinct, yes.
Yeah, so I think on the end of the office, I believe that was negligence to some extent. Yeah, so anyway, this is a PR statement. Obviously, there's a lot at play here, and that's just the nature of the job. They have to protect the image of their institution at the end of the day.
Right. And now when it comes to bringing in the MMD president as well and his statement, obviously there's a bit of some backlash and negativity towards the statement that he had to bring out as well. And I think it's become more of a norm for people to always have something bad to say, to always condemn other people or any action that is being taken as well. I really don't see anything wrong with him voicing out what he saw happening here. It's not that he's supporting the other party or one party or the other. He's just stating it, I'm sure, as a citizen of the country as well. And him being a leader, I think it's up to him to really obviously take up the responsibility of pointing out the wrong. How else will people know to say this is wrong and this is right if no one actually says something about it. Now, the other question that I have now: do you think we might actually be facing like a leadership crisis right now? Is this the reason why we are seeing such things happening?
I believe that's a no-brainer. I think things have been very bad lately. We've seen utter lawlessness and no respect for the rule of law, and I believe that's really showing, given to the current circumstances and just happenings that we've seen around the country. I believe there's definitely a leadership crisis, and I believe something really needs to be done about this. Otherwise, we risk leading the nation in chaos.
Right. And also what we needed to receive, I think, from the police spokesperson is, what the law now entails with these two that were, caught doing, vandalizing, this particular vehicle, because obviously it falls under a breach of peace and probably other, vandalism as well. Maybe what could have been added is that, okay, so these guys are going to appear in court, or they appeared in court, are going to appear in court, and obviously, the law is going to take its course, and also maybe enlighten other people on what the consequences are, or the repercussions are for vandalizing a property, regardless of whether it's between parties or any other happenings around. Yeah.
Exactly. So just another thing from the statement. So in replying to the condemnation from the MND president,
Right.
Ms. Katongo has said that it is disappointing that Dr. Mumba has also decided to throw his weight behind the people peddling unverified information through social media without him seeking verification on what transpired.
Do you think the police should also have a say in? Isn't this getting a bit now more political? I think when they're supposed to be, partisan.
Yeah, I believe it's actually a very thin line to draw between these two. Obviously, the police service or civil servants are supposed to pledge their allegiance to the ruling party,
Exactly.
to the party in
government. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there's a really thin line to tread on there. So it's kind of very tricky right now to see. I don't even know how to put it, but anyway, it's a thin line to trade on right now.
Sure, I do understand that. And obviously now we've gotten to a point where it's like everyone has to really pay attention to or be sensitive to their action, and also to what they say as well, because anything, you could say something wrong and it can come back to you. And obviously I've always felt that, it's okay to a certain point, especially if you're going to be like in the public eye, where you actually have, someone that actually manages your personality as well. And it has to be so much, that's an image consultant, and it has to be so much more than just how you dress, but obviously how you conduct yourself as well. And just to move a bit away from this story as well, I have also heard some people say that the people that make some of these leaders look bad is the people that they put in front, people that they choose to actually represent them as well. So to a certain extent, you find that this one had a scandal, and then now they're, are given the responsibility of being the face of that particular party as well. And by virtue of that, you find that obviously even the party now, as much as could have been popular, now begins to have less, attention or support from the citizens as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Obviously, association is very important, and if you associate with the wrong people, in as much as you might have the right intentions,
Exactly.
or in as much as you might be trying to do, at the end of the day, intentions don't matter. What transpires is actually what transpires, and how people perceive it is all that matters.
Exactly.
So I believe it's very important to keep a good image and try as much as possible to disassociate from all bad seeds, I might say, yeah. Exactly.
But in most cases, you'll find that the same person or the same people that are asked to take up such responsibilities are actually more popular than those ones that, are rather better, or when it comes to representation and everything else, representation, experience, and conduct. But you find that those that have got the right standing are less popular than those ones that have been associated with one scandal or another.
Yeah, so I think that's one issue. That's another issue with Zambian politics. It's more about who's more popular than who, rather than who has the ideas that will take us forward. So I think we need to move away from that identity-based politics and move on to something more constructive, like idea and issue-based politics. I think that's the way to go. That way we won't have to just settle for a leader because they're known for this and that, they're popular on the ground. I think so we need to move towards issue-based and idea-based politics.
Yeah, that's actually true. Okay, so now at this point we will take our first break and we'll be back with more stories after this. Stay tuned.
Masenza bwanji mama. Tumende sako na iwe. Pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kwa jari.
Mama ko ino sachinjira kumuzonda
manzi. Mako iyo songa chinjeko kubantu abale ndio top kwa na 5 hours pamene pano leyo.
Kamba nayo.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
So what? The e-tolling card is a National Road Fund agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Dalama and you'll be able to use it to get Monga Paniso. To avoid the inconveniences, so you have to start looking for a 20 kwa chocolate cherusha bantu so.
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Report with me, Salifyanji Bweupe, and Chimwanga Kalala as well. I don't know why I have to say your name on your behalf.
As a personal assistant.
Yes, of course. So if you have any comments or contributions towards the show, or what we were discussing before, and that is to do with the the vandalism that took place with between by the UPND destroying by the PF destroying UPND vehicle as well. Please be sure to send them to 0976 599 547 as well. So on to our next topic. So we're talking about the national budget.
All right, so Finance Minister Dr. Walyangandu is tomorrow, the 25th of September 2020, at 14 hours expected to present the national budget to Parliament. Yeah, so that's something a lot of stakeholders are looking towards. Everybody is eager to see how much will be allocated to the various ministries and various causes. Yeah. So just in a related matter now, there's a video making rounds on social media, and that's concerning Zambia's debt position. Yeah, so that's our external debt, which stands at around 11 billion right now. Yeah, so obviously considerations have to be put in place on how we are going to manage our debt in the budget,
Sure.
like obviously. So
It has to be stated in the budget. We need to hear what
we
the
need
plan
to-
is going
on
to be.
how we're going to go about it. So let's just have a quick look at the video, then we'll be back.
All right.
Let's talk about this with Charles Robertson. He's Chief Economist at Renaissance Capital Investment Bank and joins us now from London. Hi, Charles. Welcome along. Is this the beginning of a mass African debt default?
We hope not. We've got two countries that have been in kind of the sights of debt investors in terms of anxiety. One's been Zambia, one's been Angola. But I think Zambia's had a special story. They were making a lot of money from copper in the 2000s when the China boom took off. They voted out a president who was saving that money, and they voted in a president, and his current successor has followed the same policies as the next president, who wanted to spend the money. And not just spend the money from copper, but then borrow an awful lot more as well. So their debt was going to around 100% of GDP. Angola's even higher. And these are the two countries that have been of major concern to investors. Zambia's default won't surprise anyone.
Now, let's talk about solutions then. Has there been any talk about debt forgiveness?
There has. When the crisis hit, I was among those suggesting that the World Bank, the IMF, should be doing an awful lot more to help countries which had the least resources to fight the virus. And the World Bank has come through with debt moratoria. So countries like Zambia, Angola, and many others, I mean, nearly 70 countries, have been offered the chance to not pay interest on the debt owed to the IMF and the World Bank. And that is helping them. And for many countries, I think that is very helpful. For Zambia's case, I'm not sure that it's not just about trying to get the president re-elected in 2021. And he wants as much money as he can to try and win that election. So it's a slightly more complicated situation in Zambia than some other countries that I think do deserve the support that the World Bank's offering.
A lot of factors at play there. Charles Robertson, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
First of all, what I'm thinking is that is not a good review as well, especially when it comes to talking about the leaders, how Charles says that, one wanted to save the money while, the other one is, trying to spend all the resources that are there. Do you think, based on, when we talk about the huge industry, the biggest industry that we have, and that is mining, do you think it's impossible to actually clear our debt if we were to just plan accordingly and probably spend less? And as much as we have been spending, I think, so much when it comes to do with infrastructural development as well, I should think that it could have been a time when some of these developmental projects could have been put on hold, just so that we could try to cover up some of part of the debt that we're going through. And of course, based on that, the other thing that I picked up is that now there will be no interest. I think that was agreeable to say that Zambia and Angola might not pay interest on what they're owing the World Bank as well.
Exactly, and I believe that if a debtor tells you don't even have to pay back interest, and they just want their money back, they know the amount of trouble you're in. But if it reaches that extent, then it's definitely bad. They just want their money. Probably are not even expecting that their money will be paid.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But don't you think maybe to some extent we might just become a little bit reluctant because they said, no interest should be given to us? And how is it that as much as we have so much money that we're owing, we still continue borrowing at the end of it all? And look at now the story for the gold mining as well. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about that, but I feel that was an opportunity to actually try to cushion, I think, when it comes to our debt crisis as well. The government should have come up with initiatives to ensure, to help, I think, put in more reserves and also be able to pay off the debt as well. Mining is the biggest industry that we have currently running so far, and I think even if it meant to say, okay, we're giving you this amount of gold just to end our debt crisis, I think that should have also been considered as well. Now, when also Charles says that the countries with the least resources, I have an argument when it comes to this statement as well. we are capable. I feel it's probably just having the right people to actually carry this I'll call it a project over, to ensure that at least we are on the safe side, considering what we have to go through as well as a country.
Exactly. So I believe, as you've already mentioned, we have the mining sector, we have agriculture, and you've heard the likes of Peter Sinkamba mention marijuana and the potential that it poses. I believe if we have somebody who's just like level-headed and more goal-oriented with a passion for seeing a better Zambia, I believe the debt we owe wouldn't be much of an issue. I think we have the resources, but I believe a recurring issue is a poor management of resources.
That's true.
Yeah, so resources in terms of government spending and resources in terms of natural resources and what we're doing with them. So I believe.
Yeah, and also I'd like to add also one thing. I think for most of the companies that come to open up an industry in the country as well, there are some that I believe are exempted from paying tax for over a period of time. And as much as yes, there is an agreement to say, okay, fine, if you're going to come here, then you need to ensure that our people have jobs as well. But at the end of the day, instead of exempting them from tax, I think this is a responsibility for every person that has an industry running or a company running to pay taxes. As individuals, we're paying taxes every day, not only on the road, but when we eat, and all those other issues that we need to do as well. So I think this one also should be recalled and just be changed or adjusted here and there, so that at least we are okay one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. So we are looking forward to the presentation of the budget tomorrow. We'll stay tuned to see what transpires, but we're looking forward to the minister presenting a roadmap that will lead us out of this debt trap and probably just put us on a path to sustainable development. So we're looking.
What I'm not looking forward to hearing during the presentation of the budget is to do with the payee as well. And I feel if they're going to talk about it, then maybe it should be an adjustment and not really, where it's increased to a certain extent. Like I said, even looking at the rate of the dollar to the kwacha and the way that the price of commodities has gone up as well, I think it would only be fair to actually maintain the threshold that's there so far when it comes to the payee as well. So that is something that not looking forward to, but looking forward to if it's going to maintain as it is or just favor a low earning individual as well.
Great. So we'll be looking forward to the presentation tomorrow.
Exactly. And so in our next story, obviously the Green Party president Peter Sinkamba had something to say, and this is in line with the ECZ and the voter registration that is currently taking place, which was recently rolled out. So yeah.
All right. So the Green Party leader Peter Sinkamba has charged that the attempt by the Electoral Commission of Zambia to create a new voters register and now the old one is a scheme meant to disincentivize people from voting. Yeah, so he's actually saying that it doesn't serve any purpose rather than just trying to deny a certain demographic of Zambians from voting. I think those that registered previously. So Mr. Sinkamba says that the decision to allow the existing register of voters is illegal and not backed by law. So it's illegal and not backed by law.
Right.
I don't know, sounds like the same thing. Yeah, but he said that. Yeah, so Mr. Sinkamba has since challenged the ECZ to state which laws give them the power to allow a voters register. So he's saying this is unlawful and illegal. And it's just a scheme meant to disincentivize people from exercising their rights to vote. Yeah, so that's what the Green Party leader has said.
Right.
So in regards to this question, I've had two questions. Firstly, I've tried to get a hold of the ECZ people, but and I was unable to get a hold of them. So we'll be looking to follow up on that story. So firstly, I would like to know, why would you want to fix something that's not broken? I'd like to know the intention, why ECZ wants to create a new voter register when they have the old one that they could maintain. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, so on this particular one, my only thoughts are, first of all, we have a huge demographic of, I think when it comes to like registered voters as well, and I feel there shouldn't really have been any need to actually, allow the current registered voters to just create a new database as well. And we have a time constraints as well, which I feel could have a negative impact on what ECZ is trying to do as well. Now, when you look at what has been happening, I think we have a lot of registered voters, but the issue also is to do with the voter apathy as well. And I think what should have been done is where you actually motivate people to go out to register in numbers and give them more reasons why they should vote, other than being in the comfort of their homes or just being in the offices and saying, oh no, I already am voter for us, like will remain, as is as well. So for me, I feel that I'm glad that there is reference that has been made to the Constitution or the law as well, as in what ECZ has, erred in at the moment. And I do hope that they're actually going to respond to this, because this is a very serious issue, it's a very sensitive issue. And why I'm also glad to hear this is that because, as Zambians now, we have become so dedicated to listening to more of like entertainment news, and we forget the things that actually do matter as well. And you're hungry and someone can just pass here with a kama pizza, and you just be focused on the guy that is probably being harassed somewhere, or just saying something that does not really add any more any value to anyone at all. And so I do commend the Green Party president for doing for making this decision to actually question the ECZ as well. And so we have a letter that was sent to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. This was written by the Green Party president himself, Mr. Peter Senkamba. You want to go through it and highlight what he said?
All right, so we'll just have to pick out some parts of this. So according to the Green Party, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is only bestowed with power to deregister voters in these three scenarios. This is that when a person is no longer a citizen of Zambia, and when a person is no longer 18 years of age and above, and when that person is no longer in possession of a national registration card. So those are the only three scenarios in which the ECZ is allowed to deregister voters.
Right.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think it doesn't really give them any other provision in which they might just feel like deregistering voters and creating a new register. So they have to maintain the one that they have. I think that's the only power they have, to maintain the one they have.
In fact, to change it, they should tell the citizens why they have gone ahead to.
I believe from how Mr. Sinkamba has put it, ECZ doesn't have the power.
Exactly.
Even. Yeah, so I think the constitution will have to be amended if they were to make that change. So we are waiting to hear the response from ECZ regarding this later. We'll keep on following up.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that he cited, parts of. The Constitution as well when it comes to the, the role of the ECZ, what they can do, what they cannot do as well. And him also and his people taking the time to actually review the act also shows a leader that, is willing to also go by the book. And it would seem fair to just have, people wake up today and change one or two things when the law actually stipulates how the process is supposed to be carried on as well. So now what happens in this case, since the voter registration has kicked off already, will the ECZ give a response, and probably maybe at a later date, once this period is time, announce to say, okay, now you can go back to your old cards. What happens now that this registration has already kicked off as well? It's unfortunate that we couldn't get anyone from ECZ to actually respond to those questions, but we'll try by all means to actually get the views or opinions or decisions or why they had to come to this decision as well.
Exactly. So I think for that, I don't have anything else to add on to that, but I believe further to this later, Mr. Sinkamba has said that in the view of the foregoing, we challenge you to cite the law under which you took the decision you announced. If you acted arbitrarily, we urge you to reverse the decisions. We implore you to refer to the statutes before making such far-reaching pronouncements. Commissioners and management should never take the law in their own hands. So I believe, this is a good
and I don't think this one even requires anyone to come up with a petition to sign and have a lot of people agree with what he's exactly saying, because he's brought out the evidence, he's brought out how the process is supposed to be carried on. And so any meaningful citizen or that person that is really concerned about their well-doing, the well-being and the well-being of the children of the future as well, I think should just agree with the steps that have been taken as well. Although there's also Pilato and the rest of the people involved that actually also have a court case that is going on as well. So we hope that Zambia will get the answers that it needs, and our leaders are going to respond in a mature way and just calm the people down or explain why ABC is going on without having to incite any violence or any differences as well.
All right, so just an update on the Pilato case. They've actually written to the Chief Justice, Eileen Mambilima, to refer the case to another judge, because the judge that was supposed to handle the case is currently in isolation because of COVID-19. So they're looking forward to having the case referred to another judge so that it might take off as soon as possible. And they might argue their case and see what happens.
Anyway, we will see what happens, and we just hope for the best. Great. Okay, so on that particular note, we have come to the end of today's episode of the news report. But before we go, I will just go through the stories that made headlines today. So police deny idly watching PF cadres vandalize a UPND vehicle.
Minister of Finance to present national budget tomorrow.
Okay, so on that note, this has been Salifyanji Bweupe and Chimwanga Kalala, and on behalf of the entire productive team, saying good night and God bless, and see you Monday. Stay tuned to Like TV.